definition of a debate disaster.
Gonna get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue.
That's right, everybody. We're having a debate disaster to discuss the failed 2024 presidential debate in tonight's live stream. So let me get started in a minute, and Mr. Chris, my special guest, and I are going to be taking this debate straight to the barbecue. Okay, now that I've let everybody on social media know the stream is on the air, I'm just going to get right into tonight's topic. Now, yesterday we had the first 2024 presidential debate, and it was a bigger disaster than the 2020 presidential debate. And if anybody remembers the debacle that the 2020 presidential debate was between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, you'll know that from that debate, there wasn't much debating as related to logical talking points between these two grumpy old men. No, instead of there being an actual debate on serious political issues, what we had were two grumpy old men basically going back and forth in 2020, and that was made even worse in 2024 when we basically saw Joe Biden, the current president of the United States, just get completely washed like a pair of skid mark drawers in a washing machine filled with Rinso, whisk, and Clorox by former President Donald Trump, who all throughout the entire 2 hours didn't even answer any questions. No, what we got was another grumpy old man who couldn't even answer a question straight as related to what direction he would take the country in. And these two presidential nominees basically showed us that the state of our union is completely incohesive, and we really are in a serious crisis as related to leadership if these are the two best candidates that the two parties are going to present. And that's what's really sad here about the dysfunctional state of our union, that we, the people, really are not taking very seriously in this country, because many of us have our faces in our screens, and the other half basically have their heads straight up their asses. And when it came to the Blue Party, they basically were embarrassed at the end of the night, as they basically saw their entire chance of possibly winning this election go up in smoke, as the candidate, Joe Biden, basically just crashed and burned on the stage, not even being able to be cohesive and even being able to function, basically looking like the Blue Party basically trotted out a corpse-like weekend at Bernie's, but this may be the final weekend for the Blue Party as related to elections, as they may be in a place where they were in 2016, where they tried to go out here and recruit a grossly enabled candidate that just could not get the job done in Hillary Clinton, who took her position for granted. But in the case of Joe Biden, they basically tried to run this guy on ideals, not seeing the real as related to an old, tired man who would be better served in a nursing home than serving we the people. And as I saw this going on, as I watched this debate, I really wanted to go out here and recap these with guest Chris from Chris and Company. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. Uh, I did take some Tylenol last night, getting ready to watch that farce, that debacle of presidential debate, and it's embarrassing. It really was, and
Yeah, it was.
and I mean, it was really, really embarrassing, and I mean on all levels. That both of these guys, neither one of them are just on the basic level of competency. Neither one of them has it, but the power vacuum is so small, and the power vacuum is one where only a handful of people can have an opportunity to run for president. The system, how it's designed, the so-called democratic system, designed this, and this is what we have, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It's very unfortunate. And the people that they pick to be candidates, that you have these old men who are just basically clinging on to power. And the reason why they're clinging on to power is because these men just wanted to hold on to this power to the point where they just didn't want to share it with anyone. And what we're seeing is this power vacuum because they didn't groom any new candidates to be able to basically set a direction for the country. And that's shown with these two grumpy old men who are basically showing how America's in a really bad place overall.
Oh, most absolutely. And what does that say about our country? That the older, the richer you are, the more opportunities you have to become president. Like, these people are so old. I'm talking about Biden and Trump, that what policies they put in place, whoever becomes president in November 5th, which can't get here fast enough, they wouldn't even be around in 10 years after that to see it through, to see what effects of those policies.
I don't know if Joe Biden's going to even make it to the end of the year from the way he was looking, because I've had relatives in the past, like my father who passed away in 2017 and a family member who passed away in 2020. And I could look at Joe Biden, I could see the same traits of death in him. I mean, the way he was talking was like a dying man who could barely get his words together. The way his body language was, when he really wasn't really aware of where he was. I don't think he would even make it, even if he did manage to miraculously win the presidency. I don't think he'd be able to even make it to the inauguration based on the just state of his health. I mean, this man is definitely not fit for office based on what I saw in that debate, just the body language, the facial expressions, just a lack of awareness. I mean, I don't see how this man is even fit to serve office, but the members of the Blue Party basically took this man and are propping him up. And that's what we saw at this 2024 debate. I mean, we just saw the desperation of the Blue Party in them trying to hold on to power, and the desperation that they have to hold on to power, because clearly we see that the person that they wanted to have hold on to power, Hillary Clinton, she was old anyway. Again, that was who they were gambling on, but we see that they weren't grooming any new young people to be a candidate. And we see how this has really affected their party, because this guy basically, he's not going to be able to make it. And that's what I saw in that debate. And it was embarrassing to watch this guy just, again, be on that stage. I mean, Joe Biden basically, I watched the whole thing from the beginning to the end, and dude basically got crushed in this debate all the way around. I mean, if this is the face of the person who you're going to consider to be a world leader who's representing the U.S., it basically made the entire nation look weak. And it made the nation look weak because, I mean, if this guy's the leader and he could barely put together cohesive sentences, I mean, this sends a message to all of our enemies and all of those other people out there who are maybe not our enemies, but opportunists like those at the border, that the United States Union isn't strong and the leadership is lost and directionless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, think about it. I think I said on one of my company commentaries, when your enemy knows that you weak, they expound on that. When you know your enemy is weak, expound on it. Well, guess what? That's what they do. Your enemies expound on your weaknesses. And right now, these are two weak candidates.
Yeah.
And you know, the problem with Biden, the first 3 minutes he literally looked like a thing of death, like he saw death himself. And the look on his face and the contort, he really looked like he didn't know where the hell he was.
He looked completely disoriented.
Exactly. And then today, and see, this is how the mainstream media spins this. This is why you should get your news and your information from gentlemen like Sean and I, because we do a thing called research. We go and get the information that's needed to give to our listeners. And all we do is tell the truth, because that's all there is. And so, with that, the media, they turn around and then they immediately quickly put one of Biden's speeches on today. I guess he's in North Carolina, and trying to say, well, Biden is fine and he looks strong and all of that. They have the media, the Democratic Party, they're stuck with this guy. Let me tell you something. If the Democratic Party was a body, was a person, Joe Biden is herpes. They're stuck with him.
Yep.
They're stuck with him. And I said this months ago on my show. I said that they will prop Biden up there even if he's stiff as cardboard, because people still benefit from him being in power. And the people in his administration, they don't want to give up that power.
No,
they don't want to give
they're
it
on
up.
their way out, whether they wanted it to be or not. This debate basically is the end.
But if you have a job, but if you have a job that's going to last 4 months longer than not having that job, right?
Yeah.
Then you're gonna see it through.
Yep.
Yeah. You think about it. If you get paid 4 more months, you get paid twice a month, bi-weekly. So you're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8. You're looking at 8 more paychecks.
Yep.
So yeah, and we're really a little bit longer because the transition happens in January. But still, still. And so that's what's going on. And both of those guys were struggling really bad. Well, not so much Trump, but Trump lied so much, and he lied when he didn't have to.
No, he could have
When Biden came out and said that he had slept with the porn star, he said he didn't sleep with her. What difference does it make, man? Just, you can say, yeah, I slept with her, but she has good taste in men. That's why she slept with me. He could have flipped it around. It wouldn't have mattered. He wasn't going to lose any voters had he just came out and just said, yeah, I slept with Stormy Daniels. Okay. So he lied so unnecessarily. And that's what pissed people off. Then what is a black job, Sean? What the hell is a black damn job?
I have no idea what that is, but I think he was trying to say that black people are the ones who lose jobs because of illegal immigrants. And he just didn't know how to make the statement. I mean, that's the sad part about it is you had a guy trying to make a talking point, but he just came across so ignorant. It wasn't even funny. And again, just sad state of our leadership that neither side could present talking points. I mean, this was something the late David Carroll I talked about a while back as related to the 2020 debate and how it wasn't really a debate at all. And I remember watching the 2020 debate and I was like David Carroll, just shaking my head, because a debate is where somebody can actually answer questions and articulate talking points that detail what their plan is and what their direction is as related to the country. That's what an actual debate is But this, like the 2020 debate, was just one big circus, and one big circus that basically was an embarrassment for the country. And the great irony of this whole situation was this whole debate was basically set up from the beginning to be a thing to basically embarrass Donald Trump and show how he wasn't fit to run the country. I mean, the entire debate was originally started out early to basically capitalize on the conviction that Donald Trump received from Alvin Bragg and capitalize on it by trying to further tarnish Donald Trump's record. But the sad part is, it's like what they did basically blew up in their face, because as Joe Biden got on the stage and basically was incoherent and basically appeared to be basically just discombobulated, the whole stunt basically blew up on their face on their own far left CNN platform, and the whole thing just turned into one big complete disaster.
Yeah, it turned into a major disaster. And yet the media still tried to spin it. Yeah, they said, Biden's in trouble, he looks bad, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't really tell it like the way it was. Biden literally looks like someone who needs to be in a nursing facility. Period. He needs to be in a nursing facility. And what does that tell you about power, right? That power is, power only respects power. Even to the point where you roll out a half-dead guy and then he's convincing the entire country that he can run the country another 4 years.
I don't know what's more pathetic. Is it Joe Biden and Donald Trump as candidates, or the American people allowing these two people to be their representatives of the country? That's the critical question I got to ask.
Well, yeah, we all have that question, Sean. We all have that question. Let's think about Obama. Now, I'm no fan of Obama at all, but look how perfect he had to be just to become president. He had to show zero weakness. Family life, no scandals, no corruption in his background, no scandals of any kind. And we got two of the most scandalous white boys running for president that we've ever seen. Look, simply put, whoever wins in November, we lose.
Yeah.
Flat out.
And we deserve to lose because, again, the Constitution's first three words are "we the people." And sadly, we the people just don't care enough about our country to say enough is enough. Get these two old, decrepit men out of the entire process and let us run some qualified candidates who can get this country back on track. I mean, this is where we the people need to step in and just look at incompetence and see it for what it is, and basically get these two out of the whole process. I mean, it's really sad, a sad day when you got, after the debate, CNN finally conceding. I mean, you had a bootlicking Van Jones talking about, yeah, we need to get this guy out of here. Well, I could have told you that back in 2020 when people were desperate. This was not the guy to run, but you tried to run him on a pandemic, and you tried to run him on a pandemic and trying to say Donald Trump basically made a mess. But the whole thing is, you were not prepared to recruit a qualified candidate. And because you weren't ready, what you did was create an economic situation where the country's in a dire strait, where we're in this really a recession. Because again, if the economy's doing well, you wouldn't see businesses closing. You wouldn't see Walgreens getting ready to close 2,000 stores, Red Lobster getting ready to close 50 stores, many chains going out of business. You wouldn't see an economy like this. And even worse, you wouldn't see the denial from both parties on the state of the union. I mean, what we have people here on the right basically acting like it doesn't exist, people on the left basically in denial, and the entire country basically, again, one side has its face in a screen, the other one has its head up its ass, and nobody's really looking at the state of our union and the sad state of affairs it's truly in.
Exactly. I want to read this quick tweet by Professor Black Truth. It says here, yes, I saw the presidential debate, quote unquote, and it says a lot about how incoherent Biden was. But he's been going through cognitive decline since the latter half of the Obama years, and that's why he didn't run in 2016, you'll recall. So all you Biden bots in my comments, come get your man.
Come get him. He's gonna need somebody to come get him because he's basically gone.
But Sean, there's no one else. They've got to ride this out. They're stuck with this. The Democratic Party is stuck with this guy. You throw somebody out there,
he's gonna get jobbed out.
Right. You throw somebody jobbed out. Exactly. Like in WWE wrestling.
Yep.
Right.
Just paid to lose.
Exactly. You know, you throw somebody else. Here's what. Okay. Anybody who watches professional wrestling and anybody who knows anything about booking and stuff like that, I know a thing or two about it. Right. But at this point, you got Hulk Hogan and Trump versus Macho Man and Biden. All right. If you pull out Macho Man, Biden at this point, and you throw somebody else in, might as well be Barry Horowitz.
May as well be Mario Mancini.
Exactly. In other words, there's whoever fills in for Biden. Nobody's going to know name recognition in a 4-month time span. I don't care how much money you spend. I don't care how much media you throw out there. And Biden is a household name, and you're not going to be able to replace him with someone that fast. You're not going to.
They have no buildup.
Huh?
They have no buildup. You haven't built anybody up.
Right.
This is where you groom a guy or groom a person for the candidacy over time. And they've had this problem even before the 2016 election. I remember in the 2008 election, I mean, Bush's approval rating was at an all-time low. McCain was the guy out there who had brand name recognition when he was alive. And he basically got beat by Obama, who basically had next to no build, but he did manage to build himself up in at least about 2 years. He managed to build himself up. But with this guy, at this point, you're not going to be able to build anybody up to this main event. You're just not going to get a guy ready to take this guy's place because you've already had all the primaries. He's basically the nominee at this point. So you're like you said, he's stuck with this guy, and this guy basically just set himself up to lose with this debate. There is no fixing this at this point. People saw that behavior, and dude is basically done at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to make a quick shout out in the comment section. Leonard DeYuta says, "Macho Man, nah, I'm thinking more like Biden is the equivalent of Doink the Clown." Oh, well, okay. You know, I understand that. I get that. Yeah, I was being somewhat positive. But there's no positive spin on this at all. You know, there's no positive spin at all. And he literally looked like a guy that we've all seen in the neighborhood where he's sitting on the bench and he's throwing breadcrumbs at pigeons. Biden looked like that guy last night, Sean.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I mean, just totally out of it. Just barely could answer anything. I mean, there was a sequence where he just was incoherent. I mean, is this the man you want to represent your nation and be the face of your nation? I mean, that's the critical question I got to ask Americans. I mean, when I looked at Joe Biden in that whole sequence, I did not see anybody who was presidential. I didn't see anybody who would be the face of the country or be a leader that our enemies like North Korea or Iran or even the migrants who enter the country illegally would see as somebody they would respect or fear. I just saw somebody that everybody would laugh at. And the only people who would think that this man was fit for office are these people who are just looking to keep getting their paychecks, and these far leftists who want to maintain their ideals by having a propped up straw man in office. Otherwise, this guy is not fit for office in any way, shape, or form. I mean, what we have there is them, again, you just trotted out a ringer to be out here. And this guy, again, this wasn't even a debate at all. I mean, it just was sad to see an elder be abused like this. I mean, this guy basically put out here to be destroyed because they thought they were actually going to bring this guy out and he was going to be able to make talking points. He was going to be able to present arguments, but he just got destroyed. And that's what gets over people's heads. I mean, Joe Biden got destroyed over the course of that debate. I remember watching the first 10 minutes and wincing at how Donald Trump was basically demolishing this dude. And if the Republicans were to have run a stronger candidate, somebody maybe like a Ted Cruz or maybe even somebody like a Kristi Noem, this would have been like watching Sid Vicious basically power bombing somebody like Mae Young or one of these older wrestlers through 3 tables. I mean, that's what I felt like I was watching when I was watching Donald Trump. I mean, he was just basically just taking this guy and smacking him with steel chairs. I mean, in the first question, he was practically wrecking him. And dude, he couldn't even stand up in the entire thing. That was the sad part about watching this. It's like, if you had some serious competition, this man wouldn't have lasted 5 seconds. Because even if I were to get up on that debate stage, I basically would have gone further than the cooking that Donald Trump was doing. This dude would have been barbecued like I do in many of my roasts. I mean, because I would have been able to answer the questions coherently, and it would have been an even worse incident than what you had on screen on that farce of a debate.
But look how low the bar is. Look how low the bar is. I mean, for Trump to beat Biden last night, it's like he didn't even need a cheat code.
No. I mean, it's like watching a Capcom game on the easy setting.
This is horrible. And so right now on my nice radio network Twitter, right now, Sabby Savs has put this video up on Biden campaigning in North Carolina, and like it's over with. Yeah, he looked better today than he did yesterday, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now.
You only get one chance to make a first impression, and they basically blew it. I mean, can you take this man out on the nominee for the convention? I mean, this man is not going to be able to make a speech at night. He's just not going to be able to if with his condition. I mean, if he's sundowns like they say that people with his condition do, he's not going to be able to make that speech, because if he's going to be like this at a debate at just 9 o'clock, imagine if we have the Democratic convention and he's out there and he's making that speech and he's freezing up and he's just looking out of it. I mean, and just not speaking the way he's supposed. This is going to be an even bigger disaster. I mean, this is sad all around. I mean, just completely sad all around. And the Blue Party doesn't understand how embarrassing this is. Some people do understand it, but it's just too late at this point. I mean, this is embarrassing all around. This is your candidate. This is your representative. This is your face that you're going to have for the presidency. And this is not a guy who's electable in any way, shape, or form. And it was just embarrassing to watch, because this is how low things are. I mean, like the late David Carroll used to say, this is where we have the standards so low an ant can scratch his back on the bar. And I go even further and say, it's so low a worm could scratch his back on the bar, because that's how bad it is. I mean, These standards for candidates is so low that it basically makes the entire country look like it's just pathetic.
Right. Remember when you and I were kids? Now we're a few years apart. Yeah. But I remember my parents always telling me how to conduct yourself, right? How to conduct yourself when you were around adults and things of that nature. You know, mind your elders and stuff and stuff like that, and carry yourself with common sense and and all of that. And yet we see this. And yet we see this. And they couldn't rub two brain cells together to be nowhere near as intelligent as you and I. And
No.
yet they make more money than us. They have more privilege than us. And they have far more power that they don't deserve. Neither one of them deserves. And that's what really makes me angry.
Yeah.
That makes me angry because as a black man, I've always been told on how to act, what to say, where to go, how to dress, how to walk, how to talk. And then we see these two used condoms on the podium.
Yeah. I mean, what we saw there was the pathetic state of white privilege, where generations of white men basically take their position in life for granted. I mean, with Donald Trump, we know that as a given because of the way his father basically gave him everything. With the way with Joe Biden, again, and they basically have so much white privilege that they take everything for granted. And because they take everything for granted, they're basically putting the country in jeopardy. But this is a sad state of affairs of what we get for the whole baby boomer generation of white privilege that just basically took the entire state of our union for granted, because these kids were given everything and they don't appreciate our country and don't really care about our country. But then they want to talk to black people about democracy and want to talk to us about stuff. And the sad part for me about this whole
patriotism,
thing, they talk
family values. Yeah. What was that about family values? Was that about patriotism? Because that looked like a load of bullshit that I saw last night.
Yeah, well, look, expose the hypocrisy of our country as related to family values.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm almost ashamed to be an American, but I fought for this country, and I understand that there are things out there that are bigger than me. So I understand that the role that I played, the role in the part that I've played, serving for my country and everything. But this, I'm telling you, if I was in another country and somebody was like, "Hey, Americans, you Americans," I don't know those guys. No, like they're that embarrassing.
Yeah,
they are.
The whole situation was just embarrassing all around to watch. I mean, this is not what you want to represent as the state of your union, where you have pathetic old men just trying to desperately keep themselves going in order to make a debate and cannot even articulate talking points as related to things. I mean, one part of the debate, they asked Donald Trump a question about daycare in this country. He couldn't even answer the question. Several times he couldn't answer the question. And it was sad to watch. I mean, this is a man supposed to be leading your country, and he cannot even maintain enough cognitive awareness to even answer a question. And that's sad. I mean, and on Joe Biden's side, he just, again, cannot, he was like he was on a script. And it just,
right.
This is not leadership. I mean, if we've got one that is following and the other one that is aimless and directionless, and that's not leadership in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but I just got this. I just got this thought, and I remember what Biden said last night that made me cringe. But he literally said that the tax credit ends poverty. Without the tax credit, the child tax credit, more people will be in poverty. And I'm looking like, what?
That makes no sense.
That makes zero sense. The child tax credit, all it does, it puts a Band-Aid over, really a big Band-Aid over a gaping wound. But you still got to go to the hospital to get that wound treated. That's all it does. It's nothing more than stopgap temporary income. That is what the child tax credit is. Now, what
Just
about
like the stimulus money?
Right. If that. And what does that say about workers, black workers, white workers, whatever color workers that they, oh, geez. But what does that say about people like you that don't have any children, you still need a break. You still need a tax break, a stimulus, a stimulus check. They just, neither one of them said anything about that. They just totally bypassed that crap.
Yeah, because it was the whole thing was that all of that money that was dumped into the economy with the American American Rescue Plan, that's what really did damage to the economy because it devalued the money, that and all of the things that they did with just drop spending so much money with the PPE and all that stuff. I mean, there was so much money in the economy that it basically lowered the value of the dollar. This is just basic economics. And again, that and the raising of the minimum wage, all of that deflated the dollar. I mean, I learned all this from studying economics about the fiscal crisis of the 1970s. And basically, these guys made the same mistakes that they did in the 1970s. And the sad part is nobody wants to acknowledge it, and nobody's even cognizant enough, aware enough to acknowledge the economic damage that's done. Because I saw this kind of damage done in the 70s with the leftists who ran the country into the ground back then, and those like Richard Nixon on the right were just detached and disconnected. And with both sides, I'm seeing the same type of dysfunction. And even worse, there's nobody to be able to set a direction for this country at all.
No, none. And no policies for black folks. None.
No.
And here's the thing, you Biden butt kissers. Stop coming into my TikTok and my Facebook telling me that Biden has done something for black people.
He told us he wasn't going to do anything. He told us to our face in 2020 when he brought the black misleaders together that he wasn't going to do anything. And people need to remember that. He already told you he wasn't going to do anything for you. I mean, when I was watching this debate, they asked the question about black people, and I didn't see either of them talk about addressing our issues that's related to tangibles. Didn't hear a word about reparations. Didn't hear a word about an anti-black hate crime bill. Didn't hear a word about qualified immunity. Didn't hear a word about looking to give black people anything at all. No, they just talked around black people. Yes, they asked a question about us, but the whole thing is we got an answer that showed nobody was interested in giving us tangibles. So when I looked at that debate, that was the core thing that made me, as I was looking at this, far say, hey, there's no reason to go take your booty to the poll. We can stay home on November 5th because there's nothing here for us.
But Trump referred to us as the blacks.
Yeah.
The blacks. He didn't even have the wherewithal to call us Black Americans. I don't like Afro-American. I don't. That's Jesse Jackson's garbage that he put out there in 1987. But we're, Black Americans, black folks.
Yeah.
No, he didn't do that. The blacks.
Yeah.
What in the holy mother F is that? The blacks? Seriously?
I mean, they're just, it's like they're two sides of this.
Trump, Biden, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, all four, two of the people and two of the parties, they do not give a good rat's ass goddamn about us black folks. And if you vote for either Biden or you vote for Trump, you are a goddamn fool. Simply put, if you are a black person and you still voting for one of these guys, you're smoking crack. That is the only thing that I've got to say, because neither one of them said anything or has no policies or a bill in place that they're going to have in order for for black people. No hate crime bill, no anti-black hate crime bill, no reparations. Oh, but we'll give people abortion and a child tax credit.
Oh, and we got Juneteenth.
And when 50% of black men in this country don't have any children. Like, they're so out of touch.
Yeah.
They're so out of touch, and they're so mindless and feckless. They're not worthy. Dog, they're not worthy of the turds that I squeeze out in my toilet. I mean, they're horrible. And I mean that because what I saw last night was an absolute abomination. It was an abomination. And it was on that level. My head hurted so bad last night watching that shit. I'm telling you. My sweetie poo, I had 2 things of Tylenol. I took Tylenol last night. And then she was like, honey, I need a couple of those myself. And, she got home from work, saw this, took a shower, and her head hurted even worse because of what she was seeing on our television set. Like, is this real? Let me tell you something. Rod Sterling from The Twilight Zone could not have written a better script than this. If he was alive today, he would probably be like, The Twilight Zone is literally actually happening right now on my television set with these 2 old farts claiming that they can be president of the United States.
And even worse, you got the American people who think that this is leadership. That's what really troubles me about this whole situation is our Constitution says that we can take off this old government and put on a new one. But we have people who are just so codependent and that they're willing to continue holding on to these old fossils, these dinosaurs, instead of saying, look, these people don't know what they're doing. They're completely incompetent. We need to get these people out of here. I mean, it basically mirrors what's happening in corporate America, like with companies like Disney. You got 72-year-old Bob Iger basically running the company straight into the ground. And nobody's sitting there saying, hey, this guy is killing our business. We need to get rid of him. He's out of ideas. He wants to keep making the same old sequels. And nobody here talking about, look, it's just time for us to get somebody new. And when I look at our government, it's like these men are not fit for office. They're not competent. They don't really have a direction or a focus. It's time for us to say, yeah, this guy's too old for this job. This guy is basically done at this point. Just point him to the rest home and let's get somebody in here who has an idea of where they want to go and set a direction for this country.
Sean, let's go back to Bob Iger right quick. Bob Iger is a baby boomer, right? These guys are baby boomers, probably pre-baby boomers. I'm talking about Trump and Biden. The majority of Congress are baby boomer generation. So what I'm saying that to say this, you're not going to hear this from anybody else, folks. You might, but I'm the first to say this. Baby boomers that are in power right now, that has one foot in the grave, the bottom line for them is to make all the money that they can before they die, and they can care less who they step over to get that money.
And they won't even live long enough to enjoy it.
Exactly, but it doesn't matter. It's about having your cake and eating it too, at the expense of the people, at the expense of everyday people, Sean. That's what it's about. And these guys, they're playing God with our lives, Sean. A guy that doesn't know nothing about textiles come into a company, is able to be part of a company because they can, they can buy stocks and shares from that particular textile company, get all the money out of it through the stock market, and sell it for pennies on the dollar. And then the people who work there, they're out of a job. But Mr. Old Man here that was selling, that had shares and stock in that particular textile company, he got his money. So mission accomplished.
Money at the expense of the people and the business.
Exactly. What with people, and I'm out here in Arizona, and there's a lot of MAGA people out here. They have no clue what's waiting for them come November 5th. If Trump wins, Trump is going to use the presidency for his personal gain. Full stop. He's going to use it for what he can do, what the office of the presidency can do for him. And these same MAGA maggots, they're going to be angry. They're going to be pissed off. And, well, Trump said he was going to do this. And Trump said he was going to do it. What happened, man? He has no plans on doing anything for you.
No, it's a business for him.
And Biden is such a vegetable. Biden is such a vegetable that my neighbor's dog could have beat him in a debate. Like that is such a low bar. Talk about punching down. That's exactly what this debate was yesterday. Trump was punching down. Now in his mind, he thought, he conquered Europe the way he was acting. Wait, but you was going up against a guy who's literally going through cognitive decline in front of our eyes.
Yep.
That's not a win.
No.
That's not a win. If you want to take it to pro wrestling terms, imagine Sid Vicious power bombing Gene Okerlund. Right. It's not a match. It's a joke. Exactly. It's a joke. For those who understand wrestling. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's this is so embarrassing. Like, neither Trump or Biden, they have no pity, no remorse. They're acting as if, like, yeah, this is just your standard presidential debate. They both should be apologizing to the American public on how they conducted themselves yesterday.
Yeah, they should be apologizing, and the American people should be demanding better. The sad part is we've got the bar in the ground, and we've got people who are happy with the bar in the ground. I mean, that's what's so sad. That's why I call it the pathetic states of America, because the American people are so pathetic that they are willing to accept substandard as standard and not demand better for themselves. I mean, in any other age, these old men would have been told to sit down somewhere, and that that while you've done service for the country, it's just time for you to move on. That would have been what people would have done. They would have taken them in a room, told them it's just over for you, and that would have been the end of it.
Right, but they're not going to do that because that affects their power. Who's working for the people?
Yeah.
None of these guys are working for the people. They are about their power. They want to hold on to their position. And until November 5th, both of these clowns are going to try to milk this as much as possible. I want to read you something. I got a text. I got a text from a family member. All right. I'm not going to say his name, but I wanted to read something. Let's see here. Just give me a second here. You're okay. All right. So he says, I hate we have to choose between the two of them. SMH, shake my head. Then I said, we do not have to choose between them. Or we do not have to choose between either one of them. Neither one of them are doing anything or have any policies for black folks. So neither one of them are deserving of our vote. And then he says, that's not true. Biden has done things and backed policies for blacks because he knows who put him in office. If you don't vote at all, if you don't vote at all, you're voting for Trump, who is the worst of the two. I said, we are not going to agree on this. However, I have yet to see Biden put any policies together specifically for Black people. Biden has zero policies and bills specifically, and only for has zero policies and bills specifically for only Black people. My vote is a business transaction, and neither him or Trump has earned that. Then he said, then he says, you're right, we're not going to agree. If you don't vote, then you can't complain about anything that happens regardless who wins. Now, this is what I had to say. Yes, I can complain. I serve for this country. Therefore, I look at what these guys are going to do for veterans and what they're going to do for Black people, and I don't intersect them at all. These guys tell us what they're not going to do for Black people and still want us to vote for them, and then nothing changes in our Black communities. And so then he said we can agree with that. And so yes. So what was the whole thing about that? Just because I'm not voting for Biden or Trump, hold on now. Don't tell me that I don't have a right to complain, or I don't have a say. No, that's BS, because I serve for my country. I remember getting up at 3, 4 in the morning and some guy screaming in my ear, telling me to get my camis on so that I can go to the chow hall at 4:30 in the morning and then do a 20-mile run. I did that when I was crawling through the mud with my M16 and they're shooting live rounds so that you can hear the distinct sounds of gunfire. Okay, repelling out of helicopters 1,000 feet up in the air, and you better make sure that your harness around your belt works, or you're going to go flat like what happened to Owen Hart back in WWE. So no, I've earned that. I'm not going to let nobody take that away from me. And so, yeah, as a veteran, damn right. And so that's why I have this platform. That's why I can speak the way I speak, because I speak based on life experiences, things that I've seen, things that I've partaked in. I worked what I want to say, 10 years in the Board of Elections, where I was a poll worker and processing people to make sure that they can vote, and that whole process. So, I've done military service. I've done civic service. I've been an activist. Goddamn right. I've earned to be critical and crucial to what goes on in this country and those two goons. Me and my family member, we had a great conversation. We had a great conversation. Love that man. But separate from that, if anybody else tell me something like that, I'll be like, you out of your damn mind. If I don't vote for neither one of them, I've paid my dues and I've made my bones in this country that I can talk the way I talk. So because I've put actions behind my words time and again. In fact, one of the reasons why I was on vacation, I went to a veterans seminar. So I don't want to hear that. I'm still doing civic service today, helping out other veterans, the best way I can. No, helping out black fathers who are having a hard time with going through the court system. So no, I'm not gonna. No, No, you have to pick another day to tell me what I can and can't say. No, So that's, this whole thing of voting blue, no matter who, for the sake of voting, when a person hasn't earned your vote. No, that's ass backwards.
Yeah.
And
because they serve us. We don't serve them.
Exactly. They work for us. We don't work for them. Can you go to work at your job? I'm talking to everybody who's listening to the sound of my voice. Can you go to work at a job and tell your boss that you're not going to do nothing for him as far as the job is concerned, but every 4 years you want him to give you a raise? That's ridiculous, right? Well, that's what these clowns do. Biden.
That's what Joe Biden did to black people in 2020. I mean, he did this to black leaders. Basically, we went out here and voted for him, and then he tells you he's going to do nothing for you. That was the ultimate form of disrespect. And what's really sad is, even after disrespecting black people, they're still trying to not give us anything tangible for our vote, even though it was the black vote that basically saved Joe Biden's election chances and prevented what was going to be a Trump landslide before the pandemic.
Exactly. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. I mean, soon as first he said, what did he say in 2020? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And then he turns around, because I'm about to email you. I'm going to email you literally what this goofball said. When he said to the Congressional Black Congress that blacks need to work with Hispanics.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're joking? And he said that to the Congressional Black Talkers as if he was the pimp and they were the hoes.
Yep.
And then he said what he said when he said it. I want you to play that previously on Chris and Company when he literally said, I want people to, that in and of itself justified why I didn't vote for that old Mr. Magoo looking punk ass white boy in 2020. And I'll be damned if I vote for that clown now. This is what they do. And they want black people to take that. Vote for us for nothing.
Codependent relationship.
Vote for us for nothing, even though we're not going to do jack crap for you. Make that make sense, people. And remember, they work for us. You can't go to your job and you can't tell your boss, you know what, boss? You think I'm gonna do something for you? No.
You'll be fired.
Right. But give me a raise.
All right, I'm gonna play this right now.
On Chris and previously on Chris and Company.
Eva Longoria was a no-show in Phoenix, raising alarm bells for Team Biden. Now, yeah, you know what I'm saying? See, that's the thing, right? See, Biden wants us to be there for him, but he has not done nothing for us. What did you say when you first became president? You said blacks had to work with Hispanics.
And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics.
You don't say.
Who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
You don't say.
Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far.
You don't say.
Okay, number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it.
You don't say.
And so there it is. This is really irony. wrapped in a metaphor.
Speaking truth to power, being absolutely unapologetic. The Chris and Company Radio Show, broadcasting live on www.niceradionetwork.com. Tune in.
And that basically was the knockout punch for the Biden presidency 4 years ago. I mean, he basically did himself in with that one.
Exactly. You want to vote for Biden now? I'm not saying vote for Trump, but do you want to vote for him?
He's not going to give you anything. He said he wasn't going to do anything for you. I say to him, go get the Hispanics that you said you wanted, that we needed to work with. Go ask them.
Exactly. Go get the Hispanics that you're letting over the border here in Arizona. And when these guys get here, they're getting $15,000 off the rip, a cell phone, and a place to stay. And they're coming over the border in droves. And you know why a lot of people don't see them, folks? It's because they're coming in through Department of Homeland Security buses. And a lot of those buses, they have the windows tinted, they have it covered. You don't see them. But the next time you see a Department of Homeland Security bus, pay attention. See if there's a lot of people in there. If it is, it's because they're illegals.
Yep.
Flat out.
Go get them to vote for you. Oh wait, they can't vote. But you tell black people to go work with them. This is Arkham certified insanity.
You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this. If Rod Sterling was alive today from the Twilight Zone, he would have to admit that the Twilight Zone is now. We've got a super idiot in Trump, and we've got a dementia patient in Biden, and neither one of them are neither mentally or physically fit to run this country for the next 4 years. This is the next 4 years. That is some scary shit. Trump can end up losing cognitive mental faculties by the end of his 4-year term. And we could be right back in this cycle all over again.
Yeah. And the sad part is they wouldn't want a competent black person in the presidency. And that's the saddest part. They would rather let
Hold on. Some guy named D Frequency said Trump is more fit than Biden.
They're the same thing.
In what way? Because he said the same talking points? Because he what? Well, you know, I didn't sleep with that woman. I don't know what you're talking about. Seriously?
I always saw Trump as a repackaged Bill Clinton.
Ooh, Sean, I didn't know you had it in you. Now, you know what? Don't sleep on that, y'all. Because really, Trump, Clinton, they've got things in common. Except Trump was born into money. Clinton was broke. But he used the presidency at the end of his 2 terms to get rich. That's why he got the book deals and things once he got out of office. Then Hillary used some of that money to run for senator in New York. And then she was getting paid like $250,000 a pop to speak at Goldman Sachs. And if Bernie Sanders said that she had did it like 3 times. So that's just speaking engagements. So, you know, Trump's doing the same thing. Biden's doing the same thing. And then let's talk about his son and the whole and the whole laptop incident and the drug use. This is the guy. Then he says, I'm not going to pardon him. Oh, please.
We know that's going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. Whether it's not about whether he pardons the crack hit or not. It's the fact that he's not going to be in general population. He's not going to be in Gen Pop. His cellmates is not going to be Bubba, Big Bubba, and Tiny.
Nope.
Okay, he's going to Club Fed, where Club. Anybody doesn't know what Club Fed is? It's a minimum security penitentiary, federal penitentiary, where they have tennis, golf, shooting pool. You can't make this stuff up. So that's why the word Club Fed comes into play. He's going to a nice, cushy federal cell. He may do some months, maybe, if anything at all, or some ridiculous house arrest probation. And I'm talking about Biden. I'm talking about Biden's son.
Yeah.
So what Trump did when Biden called Trump a convicted felon, Trump called Biden's son a convicted felon. This is pathetic, y'all. This is pathetic. Just imagine if there were two black political candidates talking like this. They wouldn't have made it out of the
primaries.
The primaries. They wouldn't have made it out the primaries. Hell,
They've been talking about how they were low class and how they had no character, which these guys have no class and no character. Even though they're supposedly high value men, they're acting like they are people who are getting EBT cards and food stamps. I mean, this is just straight ghetto behavior, but it's accepted because these are just white men and part of white privilege.
Exactly. So next time I come across a MAGA maggot, I can say, I can tell that MAGA maggot that, just how deplorable and pathetic, Trump is. I don't have to go on and say how deplorable and pathetic Biden is, because that wrote, that spoke for itself.
Yep.
Didn't have to go any further than that. But I do want to switch gears, because I do want to talk about black media and the new black media, and it's under a threat. It's really under attack now. And because you and I are talking about Trump and Biden like this, the YouTubes and the Facebooks, the Twitters, they're going to start coming after. They're going to start coming after.
They're looking to ratchet up a campaign to come after us because they see the influence the new black media is having on black people as a collective. They see how we're having an influence on the black vote, and how black people are having influence on black economics, and even our perception of self. And I talked about this back last year. I remember talking to you about this last year, and I tried to warn people back then last year. I said, the minute that this election starts to have bad poll numbers for Joe Biden, what they're going to do is go out here and start trying to go after black channels in an effort to censor new black media. And I believe that's what happened in the case of Mr. Superboy, that he had no strikes or anything on his channel, no flags or anything. And they went out here and tried to take his channel down. They took his channel down for hate speech. Not try, they did take his channel down. And I believe that was part of them looking to try to ratchet up a campaign against black channels, because they see the influence of new black media on everybody out here, from guys like the late David Carroll, who basically was the guy who started the turn of black people from the blue party and voting straight down a blue ticket. I'll always give him credit for that, because he was the one who started the seed. And then I'll give Professor Black Truth credit for talking about tangibles and laying out the talking point of tangibles, him. And then I also give credit to the business, or Jason Black, for also talking about us taking a more active role in our communities. And those black men basically started the ball rolling with the black people walking away from the Blue Party, walking away and staying home. And over the last decade, we've seen more and more black people becoming more indifferent. And in 2016, we stayed home. Now, people took their booties to the poll in 2020, but after they saw what Joe Biden did, we're seeing more and more black people stay home. And people at places like social media companies like YouTube and Facebook, they want to keep black people being influenced to keep voting blue no matter who. So they go out here and attack black channels like Mr. Superboy, who is out here presenting an intelligent and very brilliant analysis of politics and society, and basically is a living refutation of the narratives against black people. I mean, here was an intelligent brother presenting all sorts of topics, and they wanted to take him down, I believe, not because of hate speech, but because they hated hearing what he had to say. And most of us in New Black Media, we saw what was going on, and I said this was going to happen, and we really need to understand that there's going to be a campaign to come after us because they want to be able to win. They think they can win this election by silencing voices, but there's no way you can win because your boy is just not is strong enough, and even they have to concede now. Going after black channels, this ain't the way that's going to get anybody's mind to change, but that's what they want to do, and we have to be on the lookout because this is what they want to do to get to silence us in New Black Media.
Sean, I called this out last year, right here on the barbecue. I said in 2023, late last year.
Yeah, we talked about it.
I said in 2024. Look for the social media concentration camps to try to shut down as many black content creators as possible. And this is why, nieces and nephews, I don't have a full YouTube channel because I'll be damned if they shut me down. You know, that's why I have my own website. I would I would love to interview Mr. Superboy on Chris and Company. If any of you guys, I'm telling you, anybody who's listening to this broadcast right now, if any of y'all could get a hold of Mr. Superboy and you know my email address, I'll put my email address in the chat.
He's on Twitter. You can reach him on Twitter.
Okay. I don't know how to find him on Twitter.
I'll send you his Twitter after the show.
But I would like to interview him because when you go onto my website, you notice that I'll have on my archive page, I'll have the actual weekly broadcast, and then underneath the broadcast, maybe I'll have a video. I have a video of Professor Black Truth or Philip Scott or something like that. And the reason that I do that, because I want to make sure that all of our voices get heard without us being shut down. If YouTube pulls its BS, you still got a home in over at www.niceradionetwork.com. And I've worked very hard, and I am very passionate about what I do, and I'll be damned if I would let the YouTubes and the TikToks shut me down. You know, people have no idea how hard the time that we content creators take to put our content together for you guys to listen.
Yeah, I work every day making 3 videos or 4 videos a day. So it's a lot of work putting these videos together, doing the research, taking the time to film, taking the time to get these takes done. Sometimes it takes 13, 14 takes just to get the video started. I mean, people don't know how much work goes into one video. And people just sit there and think, oh, he is just somebody just sitting in their house all day. Just make this, and it's easy to do. No, a lot of times you have to come up with the research and find the sites and do the research. And that's what I'm grateful for guys like Computer Robots to do on the Historical Men in Crisis series. and other viewers, they'll send me information. And again, that helps out a lot. But you have to read through all that research, and then you have to formulate your thesis. It takes hours to put this work in.
Yes.
And what's really troubling is that you can have somebody on YouTube who gets in their feelings, and you could lose your entire channel, all because this person is upset because they have to hear a black person speaking intelligently. They'll sit there and say, oh, you're talking like a robot. You're talking like an intelligent black person, which is what you're not used to, because you're used to these jive time Negroes who are just going to be sitting up there talking like a minstrel. Again, this is what people don't understand. There's so much work that goes into one of these videos, and they don't really appreciate the information that's being presented to you. I mean, it takes time to put this information together in a cohesive fashion and present it to you, and takes time to get the images and everything together. I mean, this is something people take for granted here on YouTube, and they take these videos, they throw them away, not understanding how much work goes into them.
Absolutely. And I'd be damned that if I'm going to let YouTube take down my content. I just rather not have a channel. I'd rather not have it. And you've been on Chris and Company. In fact, you're overdue for another. You're overdue to be on, to come over to my channel, and you know, what do we usually do? I go over, I brief you about the stories, the news stories that I'm going to talk about, and you know, I go into my commercial breaks and stuff. You like that. That's a lot. That's a lot of prep time and research, and you know, using up the ink in my printer and using up the paper, so you know, so I can read these stories and then be able to commentate as I'm telling the news, the news that's going on that everybody else is talking about. So I'll be damned to give YouTube that power. Now, everybody, other brothers that are on YouTube, that's fine. All I would say is, do not change your language. Stand on it. If you say something and it could jeopardize your channel, hell, if they'll take down Professor Black Truth's channel, none of us stand a ghost of a chance. I know I don't.
Well, what I find to be as a double standard here as related to YouTube, I mean, you'll go after Mr. Superboy, but you got other YouTube channels. There's a comic channel where the guy's been going off as related to what they would call hate speech for the longest kind of time. And then there's been a guy who was talking about shaving his anus. That's perfectly fine. But when black people start talking black empowerment, they got an issue with us talking black empowerment. That's really troubling to me. Black people talking about taking their economic and political power, they got a problem with. I mean, they watch us so hard. And what I found to be interesting is you watch this so hard that you let a white supremacist sit here and murder his father and broadcast his decapitated head on screen for over several hours. I mean, you can sit there and let people put extreme content on here. But if a black person puts up a video, they want to age restrict you. They want to flag you. They want to give you strikes. They even want to do all sorts of stuff to you. But a white racist can come up here and, again, take the life of his father, show his head up there for several hours. It's no problem. A person who is alphabet can put up a picture of himself shaving his own anus, and that's fine. Again, hypocritical double standards.
Party hard, because that's so funny.
But when we have black people talking about, hey, we want to see people who look like us in love stories, black people who want to go out here and participate in group economics and shop at our own businesses, black people who want to go out here and we want to see positive images of ourselves, black people want to educate people on racism and white supremacy. Oh, that's a problem to have on YouTube. But the foolishness like the gender war and the nonsense, oh, that's perfectly fine. Black people twerking, black people talking about sneakers, that's okay. That's okay to have on here. I mean, if it's a minstrel show, they'll love that, having that up there. But when you have black people speaking intelligently, like what one Phobos is saying about Corey X Kenshi, this was just a guy who was doing games. They went after him, and he was just a Christian gamer. And anything that shows black people presenting themselves as intelligent, black people presenting themselves as responsible and conscientious, they got a problem with that content. And they'll sit there and say, oh, we're not racist. But it's clear that any black channel that presents intelligent black people, they seem to have a problem with. And this has been a pattern they've had ever since 2009 or so, when black men really started coming to YouTube. I remember many of the older channels that were here before, the Ringos, the Dan Freemans, the Heavenly Truth ones, the Rick Scorpios. I mean, if you were there, these were the first black men, and they just, again, flagged those men to the point where they basically wound up walking away from the platform. And many of them had to go out here and file a class action lawsuit to get YouTube to stop. But it looks like they're at it again. And they usually pull all kinds of tactics to get people off the platform. They'll do things like dig into your old videos from years ago, looking for things that were already there. This is what I ran into myself a couple of days ago. They were saying, oh, a video can't be monetized when it already wasn't monetized back in 2019. And they'll say, oh, it's our machine learning doing this. But this is looking like people looking to try to find ways to try to get you to get into a back and forth with them over these old videos, and basically want to get you into a back and forth with them so they can find a reason to flag you or to put a strike on your channel or terminate your channel. This is the type of tactics that they use. And again, I've run into this before, and I had to alert people about this because they try to go into your old videos trying to do things, and then when you try to deal with them, they try to slip strikes and stuff on you. They did that to Professor Black Truth. They did this to me. And again, with this being an election year, I believe they're going to be at it again. And again, we have to call it out and call it out hard and let people know this is what they do to try to go after black channels and only black channels.
Yeah, Facebook did that to me. Facebook pulled up some post that I did 6 months, a year back, and then said I violated community standards. They did all that crap on purpose. This is why I have my own website. This is why people need to come listen to me at www.niceradionetwork.com, because it's black owned, black operated digital broadcast media. And you don't have to worry about me being censored. Nobody can do nothing to me. That's my website, and I broadcast through my website. And you know, I understand people's budgets, right? But if I'll be the first to tell you though, if you have a passion for this and what you do for what as far as talking and talking about these stories and everything, then investing in a website is not a bad idea at all. It really isn't. I deal with a black tech company. You've met the man, Sean.
Yeah, I've met him.
And so I do what I can to keep my black dollars circulating. So, digitaljetstream.com, you go check him out. He is a software provider, and he's black owned and black operated. And so I'd like to keep my dollars, in the through black hands as much as possible. And so, with that, what better than to have another brother build my website for me, and I broadcast each and every Wednesday through there, and these racist, anti-black social media concentration camps, they can't touch it. They can't touch it. And the more people listen, I'm going to have my music channel. I'm having some programming issues, but I have a I have a music channel, and people can, listen to music. They can either listen to me or listen to music. And
all right, you can tell more about the radio and the music. I have to step off for a second.
Okay. All right. And so yeah, it's, you guys go in and check it out. And I really do believe that what I'm doing is a wave of the future. I really do believe that a lot of black media content creators like myself are going to look into getting a website. They're going to look into broadcasting on, broadcasting through their own website, and then use YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, use them to promote you listeners to come over to the website. Because now Mr. Superboy, he's got to start all over again. He's got to start all over again from scratch just to get back on YouTube. And then he has to be mindful what he's going to say moving forward, because YouTube already knows that he's going to come back on there. And then for what? For him to speak the truth and then get shut down again? It's these racist cycles that we black folks have to go through that I'm personally sick and tired of going through. So I did something about it. And I really do believe that what I'm doing right now is going to be the wave of the future for B1 New Black Media. You're going to see other black content creators looking into getting websites, looking into broadcasting through their website, so they don't have to go through this crap anymore.
Yeah.
And then they can have an archive page just like I do. And then guess what? If people didn't listen to my live Wednesday broadcast, they can listen to it at their leisure, sitting at home chilling. So yeah, that what I'm doing, I truly do believe is the wave of the future.
Yeah, it's going to be like the old school internet.
What's that?
The old school internet from the 90s and the 2000s, where people had their own sites.
Absolutely.
Could not deal with these social media, these platforms. I mean, these things remind me of the Angel Fire pages and the Lycos pages of the 2000s, because I'm writing a book right now that's set in the year 2000 with those old internet pages. And they made it where you can make your own free site, but they were just a nightmare to deal with. And that's what YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are, and these social media companies. They're like an evolution to me of the Lycos and the Angel Fire pages and the Yahoo GeoCities. I mean, it's like what made them a problem was the difficulty of using them. But with these, the censorship like Juwan is talking about is just a nightmare to deal with. I mean, everything basically offends everyone on these sites, because you got these social justice warriors and these white supremacists on the left and the right, and they both don't want to see anything with intelligent black discourse presented on these platforms, because what they want to just see are a bunch of stereotypes and a bunch of clowns. I mean, that's the type of junk content they want to see on these platforms. They don't want to see us as we really are, and that's why I say, again, we've got to start working on getting our own websites. I mean, that would have been something I would have done if I was making some real serious money. If I can get one of these comics to take off or one of these books to take off, I would have a full website with the upcoming stuff like I have with my blog back in the day. And I still have my blog up. And again, you just want to have your own separate site so you don't have to deal with all this nonsense from these big tech companies.
Exactly. I want to read something in the chat. In your chat room, Juwan Buchanan, thank you for listening to us here at the Friday Night Barbecue. Juwan says, I think it's a she because
no, it's he. It's a he. He's one of my long time.
Got a girl. Yeah. Okay, all right.
That's his character in his comic.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, he said before YouTube, most people were broadcasting on their websites and had message boards. Time to go back old school. Goddamn right. Yes, absolutely. Because you're not, as a black content creator on YouTube, we will never get the respect that we deserve. Hell, we won't even get the respect that we've earned, because remember, we're helping YouTube right now as we speak.
If it wasn't for our content, they wouldn't be making any money.
What's that?
If it wasn't for our content, they wouldn't be making any money.
Exactly. They want our content. They want our influence, but they don't like our black asses. Make
No.
that make sense. Make it make sense. And so just like Biden, just like Trump, and the blacks, that goofy ass comment, black jobs, another goofy ass comment. They talk at us.
They don't
Not
talk
to
to
us.
us.
Right.
That was one of Hillary's problems that cost her the election. You're talking
YouTube,
at us.
Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter. They talk at us, not to us. No. So I give them the middle finger too.
Yeah.
And my middle finger is www.niceradionetwork.com.
Yep.
And so your blogs are still on the blog page on the website. A couple of our broadcasts are also on the website. In fact, our last barbecue, Friday night barbecue, is up, is in the archive page. So yeah, so I have put your content on the website. I put Professor Black Truth's content on the website, Kid Gravity's content, Torian Rain's content. I'm passionate about this. I'm very passionate about this. But I couldn't do all this by myself if it wasn't for brothers like you, that was willing to collaborate together, right?
Yeah.
This would probably be even a harder process, But like I said, hey, whether it's Mr. Superboy, the Professor Black Truth, hey, you want to be a guest on Chris and Company? The door's wide open. I'll make the flyers. I'll put it out on Twitter and on my Facebook and even TikTok. I'm about to get to TikTok in a second, but I understand where YouTube is. It's kind of where people are, but I slightly disagree with that. Professor Black Truth said that, and I slightly disagree because people, if people like you, if people like what you're saying,
They'll follow you.
They'll follow you.
That's
And
what I found. Because I was on
Exactly.
Blogger before I came here. I had 2 million hits on Blogger. And I decided to move to YouTube because I felt that I had peaked at Blogger at 2 million hits. And I said, okay, I've written a lot of blogs. This is not really getting me the exposure that I need, not really helping me to reach a larger audience. So that's why I decided to move over to YouTube, because even though I got the 2 million hits, I wanted to get the book sales up. I wanted to really get the revenues moving, and so I could expand into larger projects like the John Haynes comic book. This is where I wanted to further expand the business. So if you have a following, you can build on that following and move to another platform. And if you're a popular YouTuber, you can move to another platform and take your audience with you.
Exactly. Now, once I get the music channel up on www.niceradionetwork.com, I will be working with my YouTube channel. But all I'm going to do on my YouTube channel is that I'm going to take like excerpts, segments from previous Chris and Company broadcasts, and then let people know, hey, if you want to listen to this in its entirety, then come over to niceradionetwork.com. I'll leave the website link in the description box. People click on it, and then they'll go straight to my website, and then you can check out all the content. That's the plan. I'm just a little frustrated with this music channel right now because the programming isn't going the way I need to, and nobody can hear it right now. So I've been working feverishly on that. In fact, tomorrow morning I'm going to be working on the music channel. But that's what I'm saying. I'm passionate about this. I love this. I've got a lot of passion and a lot of fire, I'm self motivated, and that I want to see Black empowerment, Black progression. I want to be able to go into a Black owned grocery store one day and then go over to a Black owned gas station, and then I want to go into a bank or a credit union that's Black owned and
I
operated.
can tell you that gives you a real sense of pride when you're around Black people. I remember working in 2000 for the Strive Job Readiness Workshop, working with a Black CEO, Black vice president, Black CFO, and mostly Black people in management. It gives you a sense of confidence that you never will have when in any other work environment. I mean, I've worked in diverse work environments before, but there's nothing like being in an environment where Black people are in the leadership positions, Black people are in most of the positions. I mean, it gives you a sense of confidence and a sense of self-confidence as related to yourself. When you see people looking like yourself in the positions of power and they're making business decisions, I mean, there is nothing like that at all. And just to go and do that, and also to go to places like I used to go to places like the Schaumburg Black Comic Festival. I mean, and you see Black people doing things. It really helps build your confidence. And really, if you take your kids to these kind of things, it really has an impact on them. And if you get, it's like you have to know what this is just to be there. And I have been there, and it's just a different experience than just working for a traditional white company.
Exactly. And here's this thing. It's about Black pride and has nothing to do with being anti-white.
No.
None at all. None.
No.
And so that's the thing. You know, I always talk about Black people can't be racist and why we can't be racist. But even if we could, do you know how exhausting that it would be?
Yeah.
But I couldn't let nobody live that much rent free in my head. I can't imagine myself on a Saturday night while I'm sitting with my girl, eating popcorn, watching a movie, and saying to her, you know, gee, I wonder what those white people are doing. No, no.
Most of these racists are pathetic. They sit there they come to our channels to watch our channels. They sit there all day watching our stuff. I mean, what person in their right mind, if you don't like something, continues to watch it? That's the critical question I gotta ask, because you're sitting there watching people you don't like. You're talking about people you don't like. You're dropping comments in a channel you don't like. It just shows how sad and pathetic their lives are. I mean, most other people, we got work to do. We got the hobbies we like to pursue.
Exactly.
We got things we do. But this person gets up at 6. I mean, some of these guys who be dropping comments be like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. I mean,
goodness gracious,
this is a sad, pathetic state of your life. I mean, you're sitting there hating on a Black channel. I mean, this is what I was watching him on Rumble, because he's now on Rumble now. And he talked about how the racists came over from YouTube after his channel got terminated and are over on Rumble watching him.
Yeah.
That's
It's psychotic
behavior.
Yes, it's psychotic on so many levels. There's no one that makes me that mad, especially I don't know them, that I would want to do that to them.
And I'll tell you what happened to me. I made the video on Kyle Rittenhouse. I had more racists on my channel video about Kyle Rittenhouse than the white guy who made a video about Kyle Rittenhouse. I went over to the white guy who talked about the same thing about Kyle Rittenhouse's parents being evicted. This guy had next to no one in their comment section. I had to shut my comment section down. Just, it shows you the insanity of these people and how they basically will sit there and watch our stuff.
You know, it's funny because if you listen to me Wednesday, I did talk about that story.
Yeah,
I did talk about that story. So when people go onto my website, and when you go into my archives and you listen to my broadcasts, you can leave a comment but it's a moderate. It's kind of like a it's kind of like a moderated comment. So that way, if you're trying to be a troll and you're saying, Chris, you're an a-hole or this and that and the other, you're not going to be able to get that comment through. It's going to kick you out and say, hey, you need to make a comment that is more polite. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that www.niceradionetwork.com was troll proof. And so you can make a comment, you sure can, but for trolls, you're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna have a very bad day. It won't let me leave a comment. I was gonna show him. No, sorry, Festus. You can't go to niceradionetwork.com and just spew one of your methed out fentanyl laced comments and then walk away. Sorry, Charlie. Can't do it.
I mean, sit there for hours watching black people. That's what shows me how insane they are. You say you don't like black people, but you're watching black channels.
But it's more dangerous than anything else, right? Like, what does that say about your life?
Yeah.
If you are this racist cretin redneck and you want to spend your whole day harassing a black man's YouTube channel or Rumble channel, right? Like I said, I'm not worried about it on niceradionetwork.com because, for instance, you can leave a comment. You can leave a comment, but you just can't willy-nilly just say anything. And it's already set up. Nice Radio Productions, comment policy. Respectful comments, please. Disrespectful comments will be deleted. So troll away, trolls. Please be a troll and see what happens. Your comment's not going to get through.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do a situation on Blogger where I had to moderate comments after I did the Real Men Avoid Single Mothers blog. I mean, it wasn't black single mothers doing this. This was the white women doing this. They were so upset.
Why would a white woman even care what a black man has to say?
That's what I was saying. One even wrote a blog against my blog because she was so upset because that blog went viral and it basically proved all. And again, these women tried to go all some challenging the talking points, but they were irrefutable and they couldn't handle it. And it was a sad situation. Again, when you present facts to people, some of these people, they can't handle the facts. They can't handle those truths. And it was just interesting to me how these white folks will sit there and watch your stuff. And they sit there and, again, watch black channels. I mean, Mad Black 80 talked about this. It's like they watch us harder than they do even criminals and other individuals. They watch us so hard. And again, it's like they want to have they're so afraid of black people having influence over other black people. This is what they're upset about. And I just found it interesting. I mean, how can you sit there, you got terrorists, you got criminals, people you need to watch, but you want to watch black people.
Yeah, I want to read another comment. Angela Montgomery says, I think that is why the Red Hat News Channel 24/7 was on the chat trying to see what's going on. Okay. I think she was making a comment to another person. I don't know. But yes, I know for beyond a shadow of a doubt, Sean, I have my listeners. When I get my reports, when I get my monthly reports, some of the people that are listening to me are bots.
Yeah.
But where these bots are coming from are insane. I've had people listen to me as far away as Russia.
I had that too.
Russia. Let's see here. England, Australia. Like, really? I think why people like these racist websites like YouTube and Twitter, I think why they really have this psychotic hard on to shut us down is because there are these other countries that either don't like the United States or they're kind of like on the fence when it comes to the United States. And they listen to the black people because all we got is the truth.
Yeah.
For the most part. As long as they're not listening to Queen Coon Candace Owens or other coons like Mark Lamont, you big dummy Hill, Bakari Sellout, Roland Bowling Ball Martin. And so as long as, those, they're not listening to those clowns, right? We really control the digital media airwaves. Me, you, Professor Black Truth, Torian, Kid Gravity, Mr. Superboy, Lisa Cabrera. We are the real big dogs on the yard when it comes to real, honest Black B1 media. And we are heard around the world. We are, whether we know it or not, whether we think it or not. But I tell you what, when I get that report and I'm seeing somebody from Russia's listening to me, that's some big time stuff, Sean.
I've had that for years. I've had Ukrainians listen to my channel. I've had people from Switzerland, people from the UK and Canada. I mean, we reach a lot of people all over the world. And we basically, when we're out here, we're shattering all of the stereotypes that they see in mainstream media regarding Black people. And we really present the real world as related to Black people that white supremacy doesn't want anyone to see, because what they want to see is us out here with the gold teeth and the eating 2-piece chickens from the red and white chicken place and 40 ounces and talking in street slang. And that's not the real image of Black people. And when we start presenting ourselves, it really starts to upset many of those in mainstream media as related to the narrative of Black people.
Absolutely. That's why it's very important that we control the narrative. That's why we need to control the Black narrative in Black media. That's why Kid Gravity, when he was on, go check him out on NiceRadioNetwork.com, when he was a guest on CNC, where him and Torian Rain, and now myself included, we're counting down to November 5th. The grift is almost over, Sean.
Yeah.
The Candace Owenses, the Roland Martins, the Tiffany Crosses, the Bakari Sellouts, the Michael Eric Dyson, those grifters, it's almost over for them. It's almost over for them. The grifters, the clout chasers that want to talk Black when it's convenient. It's almost over. Especially if Trump wins. If Trump wins, it's completely over.
Yep. The bootlicks are going to be fired because they're no longer needed.
The bootlicks will collectively lose relevance.
Yeah. Because they won't have any influence over the Black vote or Black people, which is already been proven.
Exactly. And I can't wait. In fact, Sean, I'm going to do an all-day election broadcast on November 5th. So I would like for you to come in at some point on Chris and Company, and we'll we'll be paying attention. We'll be talking, but also be paying attention to the election that day, because I'm telling you, it doesn't matter to me. Biden, Trump, whoever becomes the president, we lose.
Yeah. The whole country loses. But for black folks, there was nothing on the table for us.
Right.
Back in December of 2020, there was nothing for us. So
exactly. It's going to be white folks that are going to get hit in the mouth. Those white constituents that are Republicans, that are voting for Trump and or Biden, they're the ones that's going to feel it.
Yep.
The liberals that voted for Biden, they've already feeling it. Yep. That's why there's been so much vitriol against Biden during this election campaign.
Because he didn't deliver on any goods for them. They're basically living worse than they were under Trump.
Ding, ding, ding. And they're living worse, more so than us black folks.
Yeah.
We just was already prepared for it.
Because we were never given anything. I mean, they were given everything, and now
he said we need to work with Hispanics.
Yep.
He basically said that I'm not going to do nothing for you. You're going to have to work for us with Hispanics. Isn't that a slap in the face?
Yeah. And it made all those boomers feel real stupid because they were the ones who said we got to go out and vote. It's like we were telling them back then, look, there's nothing on the table for you. I remember when David Carroll was on, it's like he was trying to tell them, look, there's nothing here for you. Many others are trying to tell you, look, there's nothing here for you. But the boomers had to go out there and take their booty to the poll, and they got nothing, and they got played.
Yeah, they got played. And they're going to continue to get played. Because, like I said before, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, whoever wins, we lose.
Yep. Now we're shown in that disaster of a debate. I can't even call it a debate. It was just a disaster all around. Just a complete, unmitigated, just disaster all around. I'm gonna have to go back to.
Look,
I'm gonna have to go back.
Let me help you out here. I watched South Park. Okay, so remember the episode of South Park when it was the giant douche versus turd sandwich?
Yep.
That's exactly what yesterday was.
That's what it was.
It's another debate disaster. It's another debate disaster.
Sean, you lost. See, look what that debate did to you. You lost some brain cells watching that shit last night, and then I don't know, this demonic side of you came out.
No, just having some fun.
Look what it's done to you, bro. You can't get that back. Those brain cells that you lost watching that abortion of a debate show. Exactly. They had the nerve to talk about abortion, except for the fact that that whole presidential debate was an abortion.
Yep.
A walking, living, breathing one. And then it gave me a headache last night. You're losing brain cells from it. This was entertaining, funny, pathetic, and embarrassing all at the same time. Simply put, that debate yesterday, that super shit show,
yep.
that whatever debate that I'm almost ashamed to call myself an American behind it, was entertaining, hilarious, and it was garbage, and it was
bad
pathetic
comedy.
and embarrassing. All of it. All of it.
To paraphrase Galvatron in Transformers the movie, debate? No, this was bad comedy.
Right. It was bad comedy. Good one, by the way. You got for all you youngins out there, y'all gotta watch the Transformers the movie back in 1986. One of the greatest cartoons of all time. Badass. They don't even make cartoons like that anymore. But yeah. Now Bryce Cooley says, "Are you running for president?" Gavin Newsom, nope. I'm not running for president. I told you about 50 times already, reporter. Well, exactly. See, and I want to touch on that too, because Kamala Harris had some words yesterday. CNN, wait a minute. CNN actually did their job for once. They did some honest journalism. And then Kamala Harris got snappy with, what's his name? Anderson Cooper, when Anderson Cooper asked her some honest questions. And, she went all sexy red, all ghetto gagging on Anderson Cooper. And now, one of them very few times where Anderson Cooper, believe it or not, he was quote unquote fair and balanced. And then Gavin Newsom made some comments, but then he's not throwing his hat to run for president. It's a bunch of,
he'll be jobbed out.
well, it's a bunch of grandstanding cowardice. Nobody's going to take Kamala Harris seriously.
No.
1 minute she's black, another minute she's Asian. She can't make up her mind who she really is.
She's worse than Biden in some cases. She can't even put together a coherent sentence.
Kamala, excuse my language, Kamala fucked her way to the top. Okay? That's what she did. She laid on her back to get where she is right now. Flat out. She didn't accomplish nothing except putting out what was going on in that nuclear waste between her legs.
Yep.
She got there based on merit. Yeah, by throwing black people in jail and keeping them in there longer than what they're supposed to be. Holding on to information that could have gotten off a black man exonerated, but she held on to the evidence because she didn't want the man to have to be, he wanted the DNA test to prove his innocence, and she was like, no. But who does that? When you have the mind of a prostitute, this is what you do. And
Yep.
Then we're supposed to take her seriously? Nobody's going to take her seriously. And I'm going to tell you right now, even if she was to become president somehow because Biden wins and then he croaks, no one, and I do mean no one, is going to let that bitch near the nuclear codes. I guarantee it.
They would either force her to resign or they'd be back into the
Man,
left.
they pull a bullet. They'll pull a bullet in her brain before they let her get the nuclear codes. Her? No way. I'm going to tell you what they're too scared to say. Not going to let her near no nuclear codes. They don't believe nobody. You can't trust nobody like that. Yeah, exactly, Angela. CNN had the nerve to have Kamala talk after the debate. She didn't want to admit how bad Biden did. Shake my head. Exactly.
It was disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster. It was an embarrassment, and it was an abortion. If both those guys just croaked over the podium, you know what? It probably would have done the country a major favor. And then bring in two freshly brand new candidates. Younger, with ideas, and with a black agenda. Because here's the thing. Two things can be true, boys and girls, nieces and nephews. A president can have policies for black folks and still have policies for everybody else separately. That can happen. But, it's all about holding on to power. And it's all about who can be the most influential instead of who can make real change in this country. We got to do better. And right now, this political leadership is ran by a bunch of feckless, power-hungry losers that are going to lead this country in a very bad position on a social level, on a mental level, and especially on an economic level with the inflation and how high food prices have went up and how high rent has gone up. And then only thing Trump said that was what he did during his last presidency was the tax rate, when he cut the rate from 39% to 21%. And then he's talking about cutting it even lower than that. Like, how much more money do these rich people need?
I mean, they basically hoarded up most of the money and even most of the property. It's like there's nowhere for the economy to go. I mean, you can't do anything. That's why so many young people are frustrated now. They want to buy a house, but these people are hoarding the houses, and the houses cost $1 million. And they're thinking it's like the whole days of, I remember the days before the comic book industry imploded in the 90s, where you had guys hoarding hundreds of #1 issues of Spawn, thinking that they were going to be able to fund their college on it. And the whole thing is all that hoarding basically made it where nobody had access to the old books or the old characters, and basically tanked the entire industry. And that's what's happening right now. Young people can't come in and be able to achieve the American dream. So with all this hoarding by these old people, nobody can achieve their dream. So they're basically giving up, and the entire economy is about to collapse.
Exactly. And then now my children and then my granddaughter, they're going to be the ones paying for this mess.
Yep.
And then, and one day my granddaughter will be listening to this broadcast. She's probably going to say to me, well, Papa, that's my name, by the way. Don't laugh. But Papa, why didn't you do anything about it? And I'm like, I did. I tried and get the word out to people on how they should vote and vote for your best interest, even if that means not voting for neither one of these candidates at all.
Yeah.
And so, wow.
Because if they're not going to give you anything, why should you vote for them?
Exactly.
If they work for you, their job is to bring things back for you. I mean, that's how the political process works. You have the agenda, you pick the candidates. They're supposed to bring the tangibles back to you. And the process is supposed to be a business transaction. We're supposed to be getting paid out of the deal, not them getting paid and us just having to get nothing in return.
Exactly. Like, it's so bad now that I don't know if my son is listening right now, but right now, my son, even though he was driving trucks, he went back to school so that he can have a higher skill set, so he could make more money. And yet it still may not even be enough for him to get his own 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. I mean, that's as bad as it was when I was coming out of school. People, like, I was looking for jobs. I couldn't get jobs because these boomers would sit there and talk about, you don't have any experience. You got to have these cajillion degrees. And they just put up a wall to keep everybody from Gen X out with their rigors and all their insanity. And we couldn't get enough to get a stable job to get things in the 90s and the early 2000s, and especially black folks. We tried to get stuff even during their so-called economic boom. It was hard to get stuff because they would just put so many roadblocks in front of you, and they didn't have any roadblocks. Again, these boomers, they basically had a job market where if you walked in and asked for a job, you got a job, and you were able to start your life.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. My children are 3 years apart. The number one thing that they had in common when I had them, I was able to get a job. I was able to get 2 jobs. And jobs back then were still prevalent. I'm talking about well-skilled jobs.
Yeah.
The problem was that there was no more job security anymore. So you found yourself like every 5 or 6 years going to another job. But the jobs were still plenty where you could be fired from a job or quit a job on a Monday and then have a new job the following week.
Yeah, in other parts of the country. In New York, it wasn't like that. New York was a nightmare.
Well, it was. Well, I was. Let's see here. Najma was born in. My daughter was born in 95. My son was born in 98. Now, during that window, I was working quite a bit. I mean, I was working my ass off, but I was able to, work 2 jobs, maintain a household, and still, whatever the babies need, I was able to make sure to provide for them. Yeah. But now, how things are, my son is now my age. When I was, I called him the baby making years.
Yeah.
but there's no way. It's harder for him now, for him and his girlfriend to have a child because with inflation and everything going up, the money that they're making, they would still have to make more money.
Yeah, you have to make 10 times as much
to get a house. Yeah, to get an apartment, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment, or even a 2-bedroom house for that matter.
And then they put up all these other stipulations like guarantors, like here in New York, and you have to have first and last month's rent. Some of them want 3 months rent. It's like that's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And where do people think we're going to get this money?
Exactly. And then, I like what Computer Robots say. Hey, what's up, Computer Robots? He says, that's the thing with the baby boomers is that they have never had challenges came their way because their parents and grandparents solved all their problems. I said, okay, exactly. And here's the thing. We as Generation Xers, right? We're not our baby boom parents. I know I'm not. So I'm putting myself in my son's shoes. I put myself in my daughter's shoes. Now my daughter is married, happily married, but her husband has a job. He has a tech job that pays very, very well. And also he's a reservist, National Guard reservist. So he has more than one revenue stream. But look what he had to do to get to that level. He's a college graduate. So not only he has a high skill set along with a college education, along with probably having to pay back certain student loans, but he's a reservist also, and he's doing all of this and taking care of my daughter. Like without those resources, they would probably have a tough time.
Yeah.
And then with my son, he went back to school because he realized that he had, in order to him to make more money than what he did driving trucks, he had to expand his his technical knowledge base. Now he can, now he can weld. Now he can fix engines on trucks, on 18 wheelers. So
Major skill
now,
set.
right. So now he's enhancing his skill set on a level that now, once he graduates, he'll be able to afford a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment now. But man, I didn't have it that hard. We didn't have it that hard in the 90s. That's the point that I'm making. As generations, you and I, as come from we're Generation Xers. Now, his girlfriend also is a college graduate, and she wants to go and get a master's degree. And they may need all of this just to be considered a middle class couple. Whereas our parents didn't have to go through that. My dad didn't even graduate from high school, but he made great money, back in his day. So this is what the baby boomers, they don't understand, that the younger generation, they have a harder way to go in order to achieve the so-called American dream. And we've got to be willing to put ourselves in these young folks' shoes on the struggles that they're having, even in the best of times, Sean.
Yeah.
No.
We need to give these kids breaks and opportunities. And that's something that I always was about. It's like, because a lot of the young guys out there, they want to learn, they want to develop. And the thing that I used to run into was all these people putting up these roadblocks. You got to have multiple degrees. You got to have years of experience. This was insanity. I mean, again, these boomers could walk in with no high school diploma, walk in, ask for a job, start the next day, and in 10 to 15 years, basically had a home and a family. But Gen Xers, we ran into this resistance. I ran into this resistance. And a lot of the younger kids, they run into this resistance. And we got to take these walls down so kids can start building their lives and start building families.
But Sean, we got to understand them.
Yeah.
We got to understand them first. We've got to have the wherewithal to put ourselves in their shoes first and foremost. Because if you don't do that, you're like salmon trying to swim upstream.
Yeah.
And then they're going to tune you out because they're like, man, you don't get it. You don't understand. See, that was the mistake I dealt with when it came to the baby boomers. There were times I was like, man, we're paying for things that you guys didn't have to deal with. Well, you got to, and then their answer was, well, you got to live as long as then you have to live as long as we did, young man. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? You just live to exist. Yeah. I live to accomplish things. I fight to live to see another day. What do you do?
They coast through life, and they take everything for granted because they were given so much. Because we had to work for it and struggle for it. And these kids have to work and struggle to make any sort of progress. I mean, that's the frustrating thing, is that we have to work twice as hard to get half or even a quarter as far.
Exactly. That's now let's bring this whole thing full circle with these two geriatric meth smoking clowns that are running for president, right? They're out of touch.
Yeah.
They have no sense of everyday struggle with people paying their rent, having food on their table, going to a job that depresses them, that makes them angry, it makes them sick. Yeah. Well, there's some people that go to work and they're physically sick because
Yeah, because these jobs stress you out. I mean, I
exactly.
remember when I first started a job at City College, I was having anxiety because I had lost a job before, and I was just filled with anxiety and just afraid of getting fired because you might upset the wrong person or say the wrong thing. It's a lot of pressure on you because in these jobs you get no support. You're basically on your own. That's another thing a lot of people don't understand about being in jobs with boomers and other people out there. They don't really give you that support or that guidance or want to work with you. It's all about them and all about them being comfortable. This is another problem I had with the boomers, is that they want to be comfortable. They want it to be a social club. They want everybody to be their friend at work. I don't go to work to be friends with people. I go to work to make money. I mean, I go to work to learn a skill and build myself up. And people from future generations are the same way. They don't want to be friends. This is not a social club for us. This is about making money, being able to build our skill set up, and being able to move ourselves forward as related to our economic situation, as related to our career and our craft. And this is a problem that many of these disconnected boomers have, because they're on their way out. They're just waiting to get all this money they hoarded up to go trick it off on some side pieces like Trump does, and trick it off on some other things like Joe Biden has done. They're talking about golf and playing golf. They don't really care about us.
Just think about this. Your life is regulated to golf. They're sitting around talking about golf when you can't feed. You got to make a choice between paying your rent and going to the goddamn grocery store. And these bastards are talking about playing golf. That's how little they think of us.
Yeah, it's how out of touch they are. They were sitting there in the debate talking about golf.
Right. And us, Generation Xers, being the new elders. All right. And I'm going to leave on this note. As we Generation Xers, as we start to become the new elders, we cannot make the same mistakes that the baby boomers did to us. We need to start putting ourselves in Gen Z's shoes on what they have to address and what they have to deal with. There's a lot of and I'm gonna just say this: ain't many Generation Xers that have the balls to talk like I do, Sean. It wasn't many of. I've been talking like this since my teens, but it's growing. There are more Generation Xers they're waking up. They're starting to see, wow, man, we got dealt with a bad hand with our baby boomer parents. We can't pass this crap down to our children. And we've got to be able to relate to them.
Yep.
And yes, they have it harder than what we do. They really do, because the jobs that were available in the mid-90s, most of them are gone. For instance, I used to be a bookkeeper. A lot of those jobs are gone now. Why? Because they got QuickBooks. There's a software program that can do all the bookkeeping for you. I used to be an accounts payable clerk. Those jobs are few and far between. Collections. Now they could pay somebody $10 an hour to sit home and call up other people and ask them how come they ain't pay their bills now. A lot of those jobs are gone. So you've got a whole bunch of service industry jobs, working at Walmart, working at a restaurant. And everybody can't do customer service jobs.
No, it can wear you down, your mental health.
Right.
I know people who've had it. I've had those jobs, and the stress is overwhelming.
Right. My son is not a customer service person at all. Not saying he don't like people, but his tolerance, he only could tolerate so much from people. I'm kind of like that too. Wonder where he got it from. Anyway, all jokes aside, but he realized that if he wants to be in a position where he has more options to be able to live out on his own and get live in a nice part of town in a 1-2 bedroom apartment, he's gonna have to expand his skill set. And that's exactly what he's done. And so has his girlfriend too. And so, we have to be a mental support system to our children. I'm talking about us Generation X parents. We have to be a mental support system to our children. Keep them motivated. Listen to them. Let them know that we understand.
Yeah.
And that yes, it was easier. It was a bit easier for me when I was his age. That's why I was able to have children, because I knew that I was a hardworking person. I had a very high skill set, and I was making back then. I was making like $15 an hour back in the mid 90s. Not bad at all. So yeah, and then I would have a part-time job. So I have the $15 an hour job, and then maybe like a $8 an hour job, $9 an hour job in the evening. And that was enough to take care of the household and all the bills and my children. So, but now it's not that easy. It was never easy in the first place because you have to have the skill set. But with the skill set today that kids need to have that are in their low to mid 20s, they're catching it, Sean. They're catching it.
Because people now, they want even more. I mean, some of these idiots they want masters and PhD for an entry-level job.
Exactly. What one Phobos said here, I can agree. Customer service is wearing to the psyche. Yes, I currently work in customer service. Oh my God. One Phobos, you got to be going through some serious customer service hell.
Going through some stress, because I know what that is. It's like people constantly asking you questions. Some people want to argue with you. Some people want to just start with you for no reason. I mean, when you work in customer service, it's just your anxiety level gets real high because you don't know what you're going to run into in any given day.
Exactly. Simply put, working in customer service is an absolute motherfucker. Period.
Yep.
It is. I am so glad that I'm retired. Oh, I am so glad that I'm retired. Whew, Sean, this was raw. This was real. This was, that presidential farce is it is an embarrassment to our country. We should be embarrassed as American. At the same time, this justifies why there's a black media.
Yep.
Where we can say, you know what, this was disgraceful. We in the black media aren't tolerating this. Yeah, Trump 2024. Good luck with that, nub. And we need these platforms. We need these black media platforms to keep going, because we're the only ones telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks, Sean.
All right, thank you for coming on, Mr. Chris. Before I get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, I want everybody to know about the books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. The refreshed Isis Amari's Revenge, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, John Haynes Illuminati, and Isis Dark Incubus. All these books are available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle format. They're also available on Draft the Digital, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you guys would really want to help me stay on the air, you guys can drop a donation to the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box. That's really appreciated for keeping me on the air, because one of the things that helps me to be able to stay on the air is I have to pay for the internet, and I have to go out here and also be able to pay for things like the book covers and other things, and your support is greatly appreciated. So I want to thank Mr. Chris for coming on to tonight's stream. I hope you guys will be here for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.